but we'll go ahead and introduce them anyways.
Yeah, we have two of the game's greats. Ross Cawthon doesn't need much of an introduction. One of the game's legendary players going up against Dustin Zimmerman, another perennial top-tier player. Both these players have won regional championships before. Both of them have
top 4 or greater at Worlds.
Yeah. So these players are actually ready to go. So let's cut over to the match.
And so we've actually, I believe, seen both of these players play before on stream today. I love it when that happens because then you guys get to see follow their decisions. And because we are in this new type of regional expanded format where it's expanded all the way through, these players are maintaining their same decks. So on Ross's end, you see the usual Nightmarch stuff. And on Dustin's end, you see his fighting Mega Manectric mix.
Yeah. Talking about world success, I mean, Ross Cawthon made the finals twice at the World Championships. Dustin Zimmerman, top 4 at a World Championship. But even the judge, Sean Foisey right there, top 8 at Worlds.
Wow, so we have got a true star-studded cast. Yeah, I remember I was just watching Foisey just a couple months ago. He was playing with his Trevin and Gengar deck.
Yeah.
So we've got quite a bit of talent here. It really is one of the just most star-studded regionals I've ever seen.
Absolutely. Even the judges are top players at Worlds.
Right.
All right. So this matchup on paper, it's a little weird. Typically, decks with Landorus EX have been solid against Nightmarch decks because you can Hammerhead and knock out a Joltik on the bench. But at the same time, Pumpkaboo is difficult to knock out. It resists fighting. Hammerhead has a hard time knocking out Pumpkaboo. And Ross actually plays a copy of Mr. Mime as well.
Oh, wow.
With the bench barrier.
So it's a weird spot. He's got 3 Nightmarchers in his prizes. He's going to want a lot of Nightmarch in the discard pile if it comes down to one-shotting a Landorus EX. That said, I guess if there was either Pumpkaboo or Joltik in there, I would prefer Joltik just because Pumpkaboo's a better attacker in the matchup.
Yeah, 3 is such an awkward number. You have 3 Nightmarch Pokemon in your prize cards. You have 1 in play. I mean, if you discard the other 8 with like battle compressors and stuff like that, you're doing 160 with Nightmarch. That's not enough to knock out a Landorus EX. Plus, your only Nightmarch Pokemon then would be Joltik, which clearly will be knocked out by a Landorus EX. So this is going to be rough for Ross. You never like flipping over those prizes and seeing, 3 Nightmarch Pokemon. That's effectively a quarter of your Nightmarch Pokemon that you don't have access to. So it's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, it's at least nice. That's why so many players do play Town Map, so that they know if Ross does claim one of his knockouts, maybe it's just one prize on something like a Hawlucha here. He can at least pick and choose and get more Nightmarchers back into the game. Now, I actually saw an interesting choice in Ross's deck. Some players will run the 1 copy of Revive. That enables you to get one of your Nightmarch Pokemon back into play. If you end up overextending, you discard a lot of Nightmarchers, so you have very few. Ross actually runs 1 Super Rod, so we can get, I guess, 3 back into play and sort of work from there. So we'll see if that ends up paying some advantage if he has to go more aggressively because he has 3 Nightmarchers prized.
Yeah, it also allows him to shuffle energy back into his deck, so if he has to discard some lightning energy early on, he can shuffle those back in. So Super Rod a little bit more flexible. Revive has the more direct impact where you get to take the Pokemon out of your discard and put it right on your bench.
Yeah, you don't have to search your deck again to find the Pokemon to get them out.
Yeah, but I think there will be a couple big talking points in this matchup. The first one's going to be Pumpkaboo versus Landorus EX. The fighting resistance comes in. It really disrupts a Landorus EX from getting knockouts early on. You need 2 strong energy and a muscle band to get through the resistance and still knock out Pumpkaboo, and that's just not going to happen very often. But the other side, Dustin does play 3 copies of Focus Sash. One of the biggest ways Nightmarch wins is by getting 1-hit knockouts, and Focus Sash prevents 1-hit knockouts.
Yeah,
so,
that's how Dustin has sort of been surviving against these 1-hit decks. He knew the popularity of the Eevees plus Vespiquen deck almost gave him a fighting chance, just being able to survive and take full hits. It's definitely going to help him in this matchup as well.
Yeah, and right away plays that Karina, finds Landorus EX and a Focus Sash. Perfect. Now Ross does play 1 copy of 06, so he could at some point play that to discard a Focus Sash and get a surprise knockout. Dustin has a perfect start here, though.
Oh man, Enhanced Hammer too.
Drop Scene, Hands Tamer after the fighting and the Focus Sash. Shaman EX set up, draw a couple more cards. Things are looking up for Dustin.
And another talking point here that's going to save Ross is if he can find himself his Mr. Mime. He runs the 1 copy. That's going to save him from that bench Hammerhead damage, which is going to pile up very quickly.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces in this matchup. You have Mr. Mime versus Hammerhead, but then Dustin also plays Hex Maniac. He can shut off Mr. Mime on a crucial turn. You have Focus Sash, stopping these one-hit knockouts from Nightmarch. But on the other side, Ross has Zero Sick to counter the Focus Sash. So you're going to see a lot of back and forth play, a lot of timing situations if you have the right card at the right time.
It's a really intriguing matchup. There's so many different pieces. You have resistance on the Pumpkaboo. It resists the fighting that Landorus has, but then I believe Landorus resists lightning, right?
Yeah.
So you have that working with you against the Joltik. All kinds of weird interactions, but both decks, again, I've seen so many aggressive decks and not a lot of disruption ones like we've seen in the past formats.
Yeah, I do wonder how Ross is going to approach this particular game. 3 Nightmarch Pokemon in his prizes, Landorus EX with a Focus Sash. If this gets ugly enough early on, I wouldn't even be surprised to see him concede and move on to a game 2. Yeah, but we'll see how he decides to play it out.
If I couldn't attack this turn, I think I might concede, just because you're going to fall behind very, very quickly.
Yeah, now it is a little rough for Dustin. Again, Pumpkaboo has the fighting resistance. You don't apply the resistance when it's on the bench, so it did take the full 30 from Hammerhead. But as of right now, Landorus EX is doing 10 damage to that Pumpkaboo.
Yeah, he's going to need a strong energy if he does want to knock out Pumpkaboo in the active.
Right. We do see double colorless energy. The second one for Ross, first one got discarded by Enhanced Hammer. That's another important point. Nightmarch is probably one of the most reliant decks on that double colorless energy. And the fact that he got one discarded without even attacking, that's a really big deal.
And we'll see. He doesn't have Dimension Valley in play yet, but once he gets one, he can attack with Pumpkaboo, despite having the 3 energy cost. Dimension Valley removes 1 energy cost from each of your Psychic Pokemon.
That's right. He did use Shaman EX's setup to draw a fresh hand. He still hasn't played a supporter card, though, so we're going to go ahead and play Versus Seeker. Looks like Professor Juniper is the choice. We'll see if he plays it right away and dumps his hand. He really does need to attack this turn, like you said.
Yeah, this is that same hyper-aggressive deck that we just saw. Look how many cards you can burn through.
Oof.
Sure, he's losing some energy there, which is not something you want to see, but at this point, hey, you got to dig.
And at this point, I don't even know how many Nightmarch Pokemon are in Ross's discard pile. Has he played Battle Compressor yet?
Maybe. I think I remember Lampens hitting the discard pile.
Okay.
Maybe he's played 1, but he definitely doesn't have an impressive amount. Dustin maybe can do some sorting for us. Let's see, 1, 2, okay.
Oh, yeah,
so he's
definitely.
got 4, I think?
I think it was 5, perhaps. Yeah, 5. So, hitting for a solid 100 damage at this point. And Battle Compressor here. But like we said, 3 Nightmarch Pokemon in the prize cards. And he actually has 2 in play. So, I mean, that already brings your total down. So I don't think he could even get a knockout if you wanted to.
No, so it's going to be a long road of these 2-hit knockouts.
Yeah, the most he could get in his discard would be 7, since he has the other 5. 2 in play, 3 in the prize cards, as we can see, thanks to Town Map. So no way he can get a 1-hit knockout. He wouldn't be able to anyway because of Focus Sash. But looking forward, you got to think at some point he needs to get 1-hit knockouts if he wants to win this game.
Yeah, Dustin's applying too much damage around the field. He's going to be able to get prize cards at least 1 a turn, maybe even a double turn, if he continues to build the right kind of damage. I guess the question is, if you're Dustin, who's your follow-up attacker if this Landorus falls? Just another Landorus with another Focus Sash?
Yeah, maybe. That's not a bad option. He also runs Lucario EX, which can actually fight through Pumpkaboo's fighting resistance with a Missile Jab. And with a Focus Sash, it'll survive an attack. Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, I don't see too many attackers that are too great against Nightmarch for Dustin. Landorus is the best one. Only runs 2 copy of that. Otherwise, he runs Mega Manectric, which isn't great against Nightmarch. Especially takes 2 turns to power up.
And we do actually see Mr. Mime on Ross's side of the field. Now, with that bench barrier ability, Dustin will not be able to damage the bench unless he opts to play one of his Hex Maniacs. He also has the Dimension Valley, so he will be at least attacking this turn for 120.
Yeah, and Dimension Valley's big, and the bigger point here is I'm looking through Dustin's deck list. I don't see any stadium cards. So once Dimension Valley is out there, it's just there.
I've seen that in a couple of matchups so far today. A lot of decks are opting to not fit any kind of counter stadium. If it isn't integral to your game plan, a lot of players have decided, I don't know if I need this, but that does make some matchups a bit easier. Back when you used to play Nightmarch and then constantly get your stadium swapped out from almost every other deck, you had to keep supplying new ones. Here, Ross is going to have that for game.
Yeah, and Dustin, I don't see a strong energy. He would need that to hit for 30 damage. He's only doing 10 right now because of the fighting resistance. This is a weird turn. I mean, if he misses the knockout, he's going to be behind. He's going to give up 2 prizes to that Pumpkaboo. He won't have any real threat to even knock out Pumpkaboo anytime soon.
It would be the saddest turn. 1 energy for 10, going all the way back to some base set level play.
And you can see Dustin kind of agonizing over this as well. Does have an Ultra Ball, so you can go ahead and discard 2 cards and search for a Pokemon. He could find a Manectric EX, I guess. Could do a new Landorus. I'm not sure what he goes for here.
He's actually put in somewhat of a strange spot. Ross is going to get an EX knockout, propelling him 2 prizes forward. And if Dustin can't grab this last 30 HP to get rid of Pumpkaboo, that's going to be frustrating.
Yeah, he does find the Manectric EX. He had a Manectric Spirit Link in hand. It's strange, though. He has to use his energy attachment to the Landorus EX, a strong energy in particular, to get a knockout here. Otherwise, he's just kind of giving up the prize trade. If he wants to power up Mega Manectric, he'll have to commit the energy this turn, which means he misses the knockout. So it looks like almost an impossible situation for him.
Yeah, I don't know if he can pull off both. And Ross is in a situation, I guess, where he could knock out a clean EX attacker if he plays his 1 Silver Bangle and then does happen to lose the Pumpkaboo here. So Dustin might need to Mega Evolve in the following turn. But Ross he's starting to set up these one-hit knockouts that really make Nightmarch so good. Grab 2 prize cards.
Yeah, and Dustin's eyeing up that fighting energy. It looks like he may be ready to concede the fact that things are not going to go his way, but no, he's actually going to go for Karina. Can grab another fighting Pokemon, perhaps another Landorus EX, and maybe a Scramble Switch?
Ooh, here's a fun little play. Why not? I remember this is the one A-Spec that he plays. He didn't get to use it to extreme effect in the games that we watched, but this could at least take that fighting energy, which is sort of useless on the Landorus, and is he going to pass it up to a Lucario? Is that what I saw in his hand?
It sure looks like it. Attaches the fighting energy to Manectric EX, so he can prepare that for next turn. And yes, a Scramble Switch into Lucario EX, like we were saying.
We're going to see that Bull Jab you're talking about.
Yeah, it goes through resistance, so he can do 30 damage and knock out Pumpkaboo.
Yeah, pretty smart play for Dustin, making the most of that Karina.
Yeah, that's a pretty fancy move. I do wonder if it'll pay off for him, though. Lucario EX, weak to Psychic.
Yes, he's going to get eaten up by Pumpkaboo or Mew, which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
So he might be giving up 2 prize cards here just to grab the 1, but I guess at this point you have to at least deny the next attack that your opponent is almost guaranteeing.
Yeah, now normally Mega Manectric EX can struggle a little bit against Nightmarch since they can reach for enough damage and get one-hit knockouts in most situations. This one, though, Ross has 3 Nightmarch Pokemon on the discard pile. If you throw a Mega Manectric out there with 210 HP, I don't see that getting knocked out in one hit, so you could see the prize swing go back in Dustin's favor if he finds Mega Manectric and is able to use Turbo Bolt.
And he's got the 1 energy committed already down, so he made a smart play. He could have moved 2 onto the Lucario or something and tried to draw cards with Corkscrew Smash.
Yeah.
But then he loses the option on the next turn of Turbo Bolt. Turbo Bolt could really actually propel him back into the game because it accelerates energy from the discard pile as well.
Yeah, and he does play. He only plays a couple one-prize attackers that are good against Nightmarch. Howlucha could be good, but he doesn't play the fighting stadium that a lot of these fighting decks play. So he really can't even go after like a Shaman for a one-hit knockout with the Flying Press.
You need multiple strong energy on Howlucha, which isn't super ideal.
Yeah, but he does run one of my favorite cards, and that is Terrakion. That could end up being big later on.
Oh yeah. Saw that earlier. I don't know if he's dropped it yet on stream, but that'll definitely help out. It's really great just to have one additional attacker to be able to deal decent damage, and Terrakion does it. Just 90 damage is going to be enough for pushing through a lot of these Nightmarch Pokemon.
All right, so we do see another battle compressor from Ross, and I think he is determined that Dustin doesn't play any stadium cards. I don't know if you figure that out. If these players have actually, these players actually played against each other yesterday. I can't remember who won, but Ross and Dustin have seen each other's decks at this point.
So they definitely had some clues beforehand, knowing, hey, well, if Dimension Valley stuck every time I played him last time, I'm going to guess it sticks every time I play it today. So Battle Compressor can get those extra cards out that you really just don't need.
That's right. And we see a Float Stone going on to the Mew EX. And Ross still has not played an Energy, so he's going to go for the Shaman EX setup. And he needs to find Energy to attack here.
He does. He either needs one Energy and a Joltik, which I'm not 100% sure if he does have, because he's got the 2 in the prize cards, or just a double.
Yeah, I think he did find Double Colorless Energy off of the setup for 2 cards. So he can go ahead and Nightmarch this turn. He'll collect 2 prizes, and I gotta think he's going for those Nightmarch Pokemon.
Yeah, just to be able to fuel the biggest attack possible. If you do get in a late game scenario, it certainly wouldn't hurt to at least open yourself up to a possibility of a one-hit knockout on Mega Manectric.
And I think he's struggling on where to put this Double Colorless Energy. He could power up Pumpkaboo, which is the 1 prize attacker. It looks like that is what he's going for. Nightmarch with that. Could do Mew EX as well. That would have been more difficult for Mega Manectric to knock out, as 120 HP just out of range for Turbo Bolt. But nope, decides to go for the non-EX Pumpkaboo and takes the 2 Joltik out of his prize cards.
So I'm guessing if Dustin does have the option to find it, he'll try and retrieve this Mega Manectric EX Turbo Bolt, try and get back to the game that way. He won't be able to take 2 prizes this turn, I don't think, in any way. But Ross does at least have those options on the bench in the future, and maybe opening up some Lysander plays for Dustin.
Yeah, this is still anyone's game at this point. Early on, I thought Ross might be in a lot of trouble with 3 Nightmarch Pokemon and his prize cards, but Pumpkaboo's fighting resistance even a bigger deal than I thought, especially since Dustin doesn't play any, well, he plays 1 Muscle Band, but he opts for the Focus Sash instead. Sometimes you can fight through the resistance by using Muscle Band, but not when you have Focus Sash.
Yeah, it's a bit slower of a process. I see a Manectric. I don't think it's the Mega variety, though.
He may have found an Ultra Ball. I mean, if he can get Mega Manectric up and running here, he'll be in a pretty decent spot. That's Ross's 3rd Double Colorless Energy. First one got Enhance Hammered. Second one got knocked out on the last turn. And now this 3rd one's going to go down, so he could run out of steam pretty easily. Yeah,
and we do see, I believe he retrieved the Joltik from his prizes, so he at least has opened up the Mew plus 1 energy plus Joltik on the bench to deal a Nightmarch.
Yeah.
But he has gone through a lot of energy.
So Dustin trying to figure out which 2 cards to discard with his Ultra Ball. Hawlucha is an easy one. What's the second card he wants to dump, though? Looks like it's going to be Hex Maniac.
Yeah, at this point, there aren't a ton of abilities.
Oh,
I think
actually, he's going to discard Sycamore.
Keeping Hawlucha. Interesting.
Yeah. That is interesting. He must have something else in his hand. So, going to go ahead and Ultra Ball for that Mega Manectric EX. Is that 210 HP in the Turbo Bolt attack. Go ahead. He does have a Lightning Energy in his hand as well, so he'll definitely knock out the Pumpkaboo. Also get some energy acceleration. But it is entering a point where it's a little scary for Dustin. Ross down to 4 prizes. There are 2 easy knockouts on Dustin's board, the Shaman EX and the Landorus EX with just 60 HP left. So could see a situation like we saw last round with 2 Lysander to knock out 2 EXs and win.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think, does Ross have any way where he could one-shot the Mega Manectric at this point in game?
I don't think so.
Okay, so he'll have to probably just go for Lysander, Landorus, Lysander, Shaman. Is probably what he's eyeing up to close out the game.
Looks like it. Well, there actually is a very outside chance he could knock out Mega Manectric in 1 hit. If he gets his other 9 Nightmarch Pokemon into the discard pile and finds a Silver Bangle, that'll be a knockout.
Oh, and so Dustin just only able to Turbo Bolt 1 fighting energy onto the Shaman on the bench.
I've actually seen him do that a couple times. It's almost like he enjoys doing that. But later on, it could be good to, Sky Return against a Joltik and then return Shaman to your hand to take it off your board.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something that he would like to have. Just remove one of those easy one-hit knockout prizes. That said, I'm not actually 100% sure if if Ross will be promoting a Joltik to attack. I I think in hand, he has the Joltik and the 1 energy if he wants to do with Mew.
Right. So, yeah, this is, again, still anyone's game. 4 prizes to 3 at this point. Swiss round number 13, a very important one for determining who can move on. The top 8, both these players want to win to solidify their place in the standings.
And
Of course, you move on to top 8, have a chance to win the whole tournament. And what a tournament it is with 490 players in the Masters division. This would be a huge win for anyone's resume.
Oh, yes. Even just saying, like, hey, I beat Dustin, I beat Ross. That's a nice thing to be able
Yeah.
to say. Both of these players are players. If I saw a full roster of 500 players, I had to make a fantasy team of Pokemon. I'd probably add both of them to mine.
Yeah, they have proven themselves pretty frequently in the Pokemon TCG. See, Dustin cutting Ross's deck, and it doesn't look like he has many cards left in there.
No, so he's definitely running low on resources, like you mentioned. He's gone through a lot of doubles. He now has the basics, so we'll see. He does have the double in hand.
Ooh,
So he's opted for Pumpkaboo.
There is the Silver Bangle. Uh-oh.
Ooh, wait a
Are there
second.
9 Nightmarch Pokemon in his discard pile?
Can he dig them all away? I think there's still the Joltik in hand.
Oh, yeah, that takes away the option since...
It does if he lets go of it. He's debating.
Well, let's see. There's 1 in the prize cards, 2 on the field. That does leave 9 he could have in the discard pile.
Oh, wow. No, yeah, could be exactly. You're right.
Let's see, do the math here. Looks like...
Yeah, that's 9.
Looks like it to me. And
plus 30 from the Silver Bangle. That's the 210 one-hit knockout on Mega Manectric EX.
I don't know what Dustin does now.
Yeah. Oh.
He has no response to that.
Muscle Band, Sky Return with Shaman, and throw up Howlucha. Like that's all. I mean, that's something. It somewhat puts but then he has no energy to continually move on for the rest of the game. Yeah, that is a very rough scenario. That one-hit knockout was everything. If Ross did not have the pieces,
yeah, and you have to go back. Last turn, I think Dustin had a Manectric EX in hand. He opted not to put it down. He could have turbo bolted onto that and then set up for an Assault Laser knockout. The way it is now, he just has nothing that can knock out a Pumpkaboo. Again, the fighting resistance coming up. Even if he finds Landorus EX, Strong Energy, Muscle Band, that's only doing 50, and then he gets Nightmarch for a knockout. He has to either go for a Sky Return or go for like a Focus Sash Landorus and cross his fingers.
And I think Ross knows he's in a great position. He just sat there and hydrated. He's got he's ready to go. I know the type of player Ross is. He's probably already thinking about possible Game 2 scenarios.
I mean, there's still a lot that can happen here. But yeah, this is just looking ugly for Dustin. Is going to Ultra Ball, discarding Strong Energy and Manectric EX. There is no real single card in his deck right here that can get him a win at this point. Nothing can knock out Pumpkaboo. This is really going to turn into one of those N situations and hope Ross doesn't draw what he needs, which would be a Lysander. And, you know, Ross's deck is pretty small at this point. He's got pretty high odds of drawing into a Lysander, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he would have to N, and then I guess also, if you really want to push your like N and knock out Pumpkaboo as well, so you need like N, Energy, Muscle Band. Oh, it doesn't even work with Sky Return. Pumpkaboo's got 60 HP. Yeah, this doesn't, no. Oh, man.
Need to like change your deck list and add a Hypnotoxic Laser.
Yes. Yeah, or change one of your attackers. Anybody hitting hard on 1 energy? I guess Lucario, Strong Energy.
Throw a second Lucario in there.
Oh, man.
We do see the Strong Energy and the Muscle Band go on to Howlucha. I don't think that does anything for you in the long term. You just won't be able to survive long enough to pull that off since there's no Fighting Stadium in the deck. But he's gonna go for it, it looks like.
You can see Dustin, he's running through all the options. You never want to just like concede a game that at least looked somewhat decent for you. But man, yeah, just up and pass. And if Ross has Lysander, that's it. Dustin couldn't even end him.
Yeah, it's really strange. Here we see Trainer's Mail picks up, yep, there's Versus
that'll
Seeker.
do it.
Yep, and Ross Cawthon takes game number 1. He has 3 Nightmarch Pokemon prized, manages to put himself in a position to win. And, you know, that big turn, the big knockout on Mega Manectric, that really swung the game, and Dustin just couldn't respond after that.
Yeah, pretty convincing. Ross made that matchup look a lot easier than I think it actually is. I know Dustin has a lot of tricks in his book, like being able to knock out Joltik easily on the bench, being able to absorb one-hit knockouts with the Focus Sash. I almost wonder if Ross's experience playing this matchup before has really helped him shape the way that he plays here.
Definitely.
You rarely saw him put Joltik on the bench, for example.
Yeah, and Ross is an extremely intelligent player. After he plays a matchup, you might catch him off guard the first time you play against him, but after he's had a chance to play against you once, studies your deck, he now knows everything in your deck, like we saw there with Battle Compressor, just discards all his extra stadium cards. He knows exactly what he's going up against, so he can craft a strategy, and had a perfect game plan. Ended up winning.
We call that downloaded. And yeah, he's got that Google Fiber speed.
Yeah. Now, Dustin, I mean, he was not out of that game by any means. It was a close back-and-forth match. I have to believe if Ross didn't get the knockout on Mega Manectric, Dustin probably wins that game.
Oh, yeah, that helps quite a bit.
Yeah.
Or if Dustin has another attacker that he can fuel with Turbo Bolt.
Right.
The most unexciting Turbo Bolt I've ever seen.
One energy to a Shaman.
Yeah, one. If he can set up another attacker, maybe another Manectric, maybe Terrakion.
Yeah, if he had Terrakion there, that would have been a game changer.
I don't know if I've seen that hit the board yet in any of the games that I've watched of Dustin's. I know how much you feel for Terrakion.
Yeah.
It's back in here, the expanded format. Another one of those cards that has been reprinted so many times. It's been around forever. Yeah. It has like 4 different artworks. Now the question is, that's actually a very strong thing that we need to consider is which Terrakion artwork is Dustin using?
I see which one it is.
Oh, you do?
It's the full art.
I like the one with the snow.
I'm a fan of the full art myself. Hopefully we get to see it in action. But yeah, Terrakion is one of those cards that goes in and out of the format, in and out of the metagame. I mean, depending on which decks are popular. It has such a simple attack. It does 30, but then if your opponent knocked out one of your Pokemon, it does 90 instead. And it's only good, really, against fighting weak Pokemon. They take a knockout, and then you hit a fighting weak EX for 180 damage, or you throw on a muscle band, and all of a sudden that's 220. You're even knocking out an opposing Mega Manectric. Just a big non-EX attacker that can cause huge swings in games, but does have a 4 retreat cost. Kind of an expensive attacker. So
yeah, once you commit, you can't quit.
Yeah,
you're in there.
Pretty much.
It could, at least at any point, if Dustin is able to accelerate enough energy, it can give him a non-EX attacker. Giving up 2 prize cards can hurt a lot, even when you are using the Focus Sash strategies.
All right, looks like game number 2 is getting underway, so let's check that out. Will Dustin Zimmerman be able to pull this back, maybe tie up the series, or will Ross Cawthon take the series 2-0 and add another win to his resume?
And I know Ross is one of the players that really does capitalize on time, so I'm sure he's going to be trying to play as carefully as he can moving into game 2.
Definitely. We see Ross starting off with opting to lead with the Joltik and as the Pumpkaboo on the bench. Interesting choice there. But, I mean, having a Joltik on the bench is a big liability against Landorus EX.
Oh yeah, this could set up a turn where Landorus can Lysander, push Joltik away, and then just claim the knockout on the bench.
So we do see the game opening up pretty much the same way for Dustin Zimmerman. Plays the Karina, looking at the Landorus EX once again, this time grabbing Ultra Ball instead of the Focus Sash, though.
Yeah, and he's definitely, I think he just wants to set up as much as possible. That way he's not just stuck with lone Landorus as his means of attack, and then he has nothing really to back it up afterward.
Right. So Ultra Ball discards the Hex Maniac and the Wide Lens, both cards that probably won't be very useful in this matchup. Hex Maniac could have some uses later on, but probably won't play it first turn.
Yeah, maybe in the late game could remove a Mr. Mime bench barrier if he does need to deal any bench damage.
Yeah, can even stop a Mew EX from attacking, can stop a Shaman EX from drawing extra cards. Hex Maniac is just such a strong card.
You see a quick grab of that Manectric EX. We didn't see a ton of it from the last game, but I think Dustin's deciding that it's a more valuable card in the matchup than you think.
Right, so just going to attach that energy and pass the turn after putting Focus Sash onto Hawlucha. That's actually pretty cool. That Hawlucha almost certainly will get knocked out if Ross can attack. But
lightning weakness, it's going to get fried, but not quite. Focus Sash prevents that. So Ross would need an incredible hand to both remove a million Nightmarch Pokemon and have a Lysander if he wants to claim a prize this turn on any of the bench Pokemon.
Yeah, that or draw into his 1-0 which seems like a bit of a waste just to take one prize on a Hawlucha. But
I think overall, yeah, Dustin has probably prevented himself from losing a prize, and because of that, yeah, Ross is gonna go for the Gnaw.
Ross did nothing.
Oh, wait a second.
Played an energy and he gnawed.
He's going to go for the Gnaw and do nothing else.
Now, so Dustin's only supporter is an N. He's probably like planning his turn ahead. He's like, yeah, I'll play the N, try to draw a Manectric Spirit Link, something like that. And then Ross plays nothing. And now it's just, do I retreat an Assault Laser and knock out a Joltik here?
We've seen this situation many times before, arguably even ending a World Championship reign. You play the N? Instead, he just Mega Evolves, no Spirit Link, so that just ends his turn.
Huh. Yeah, I wonder if it's better there to just be aggressive and say, you know what? You didn't play a supporter. You didn't do anything. You didn't play a Battle Compressor. I'll just Assault Laser, and if you don't draw anything, I'll knock out your Pumpkaboo next turn and I'll win. Dustin takes a little bit of a safer route, Mega Evolves to Mega Manectric, gets the extra 40 HP out of it, and saying, you know what, I don't want to take that kind of a chance. You know, if Ross does top deck something crazy and explodes and gets a big knockout on my Manectric, I'm left with nothing. So he's just going to Mega Evolve instead.
Part of me wishes I could see what's in Ross's hand. Part of me thinks maybe I don't want to see it if it's that bad. Another Gnaw and nothing.
And Dustin draws a second N. Two cards he does not want to play.
He desperately wishes one of those was a Sycamore. Now we can start taking knockouts, not even taking advantage of Turbo Bolt, but Ross's start is so slow. Mew is nice because it has that magic 10 HP beyond a Turbo Bolt, but oh man, I do see a double colorless in his hand, so that's something, but he clearly has not revealed any kind of draw yet.
Yeah, right now this is...
Oh, I think there's an N in there.
Oh yeah, Ross might have drawn into that, but yeah, right now this might look like a good situation for Dustin. He's got the Mega Manectric, takes the first prize, and Ross is even sitting on a teammates, so... he was holding on to that, I assume, because he drew the N for the turn.
Maybe then he was just waiting to get knocked out.
Yeah.
He was perhaps hoping it would happen the turn before. Instead, Dustin's choice to Mega Evolve and end his turn through that mechanic might have been a smart move.
Look at that. Turns out to be a much smarter move than I thought. But yeah, Dustin's spot, he's ahead. He's got Mega Manectric, but again, this is such a fragile spot. If Ross, gets a couple Battle Compressors and goes absolutely crazy, knocks out this Mega Manectric, Dustin is left with nothing. He has nothing that can knock out a Mew EX in one hit right now.
Oh wait, well actually, because he did the natural Mega Evolution, he could Muscle Band Turbo Bolt.
That's true. Usually got the Spirit Link, so he can't do that. So yeah, if he could find his one Muscle Band, he could Turbo Bolt for 130. That's actually a game changer.
That would be completely game swinging, but he does only run the ones. The question is, could he draw one of his Karina, for example, that can help him find items?
Yeah, now, this is like the classic situation where you're holding an N, your opponent hasn't done anything. So, you don't want to play the N, but your spot isn't great either. So you could, in that situation, try to press your advantage further, play the N, get more energy in play, try to get in the lead. Because if your opponent top decks something, you are kind of in a bad spot. You sacrificed your energy attachment for the turn. You haven't progressed your board any. And yeah, you can really see the demeanor of players in those kind of situations. A player like Igor Costa, I know that N would have been slammed on the table immediately. He would have drawn a fresh 6 cards and tried to press his advantage. Dustin plays more conservatively, sees Ross hasn't done anything, says, I'm going to take my chance this way, hope my opponent just continues to draw nothing.
Now, at this point, you've seen just how explosive Ross has gone off with his teammates, found things like Ultra Ball, Shaman, drawing cards. I'm pretty sure Dustin is confident dropping N next turn.
Oh, yeah.
I can only imagine he wants to find that Muscle Band more than anything else.
Definitely.
Maybe way to discard energy, too. Turbo Bolt them.
Yeah, he definitely needs to get energy in the discard pile. He needs to find his one Battle Compressor to do that. Otherwise, yeah, he's just going to hit for 110, and that's not great. You don't want to... You really don't want a 2-hit knockout of Mew EX. It's one of the lowest HP Pokemon EX that people use for attacking. Just 120. So
Yeah,
a
Evil
lot of
Tall Small has more.
yeah. So anytime you let, like you said earlier, if you let a Nightmarch Pokemon attack more than once, you're usually in a really bad spot.
Yeah, and I guess you can find miracle comebacks around that, like we saw from that crazy Dylan Bryan comeback. But overall, not super common. Dustin's in a situation where, yeah, if he can find one of those knockouts, that would be tremendous. It does leave Mew EX with 10 HP left, and then maybe that can set up something with Landorus if you can push it to the bench. But then you also have to hope Ross does not find Mr. Mime. So it gets a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah, now here, Ross, with those teammates, I mean, he found 2 cards. I mean, we've seen a lot of Nightmarch turns where it's just Battle Compressor, Ultra Ball, grab Shaman, draw more cards, Battle Compressor, Ultra Ball. And if he gets 10 Nightmarch Pokemon in the discard and a Muscle Band, he can hit the 220 and knock out Mega Manectric EX. Would be kind of gross to see, but it can happen.
Well, it's Mr. Mime time now, so that is removing that bench damage, unless Dustin decides to Hex Maniac.
Yeah, I mean, he could even, if he doesn't have any Nightmarch Pokemon prize, he could go all 11, but looks like just hitting for the 120.
All right, so now the question is he going to find himself a Muscle Band?
Yeah, does find Ultra Ball. That's great. He'll be able to search for Shaman EX and draw probably 5 cards off this setup, so that's a nice find for him.
Yeah, I'm assuming he'll have one. I know Dustin does only run 2 Shaman EX. Oh, wow, grabbing
for the
Hawlucha.
Hawlucha and playing N instead. Opting not to put down, that 2 prize liability, the Shaman EX, I guess.
That's true, yeah. So maybe not pushing as aggressively as we see for the Muscle Band. It's possible 2 of his Shaman are prized. I'm not 100% sure. But he has taken 1, so maybe there's 1 left. It is, I think, just a testament to Dustin's conservative style of play.
Definitely. So, and both players going to shuffle in. Ross gets 6. Dustin only gets 5. Only plays the 1 Muscle Band. Doesn't really play any way to search for it. Doesn't play Computer Search. His A-Spec, of course, is that Scramble Switch. So, I'm not sure what he's trying to grab here besides Muscle Band. Probably a Battle Compressor and a different Pokemon to Turbo Bolt too.
Did he
drew number 6.
Cards? Yeah, that's what I was worried of.
He drew the Professor Sycamore, I think, off the end. So hopefully the judge catches that. Looks like.
No, I think they're realizing it right away.
Yeah. So they asked him how many cards he has, and Dustin confidently says 6. And then they point out, you have 5 prize cards. And
Yeah.
Dustin says, that is correct.
Oh yeah, I did really hurt that Pumpkaboo early in. Or was it a Joltik? It was something. Something got slammed.
Yeah, the Joltik. So, yeah, this is a situation we see happen time and time again. I don't know what it is about N-Man, but...
Every time. I'm so paranoid now with N that I'm even, like, worried I'm not going to draw the right amount of cards on Pokemon Trading Card Game Online.
Yeah.
Like, it just happens so many times. It's so easy. It's early in the game. You feel like, okay, yep, I've got 6. Draw 6. It's a common number. But sometimes, even though this game has sort of progressed in a slow way, Dustin did take a prize card, so he's got to go for 5.
Yeah, so if the penalty is the same as we saw last time, they'll probably take a random card out of Dustin's hand and shuffle it back into his deck at this point. And it'll get a warning or something like that. I don't know if the penalty is going to be more severe than that, but Sean Foisey is a very experienced judge, does a great job. The whole staff here has done an incredible job.
Yeah, we'll see. It could be especially punishing if it is that Ultra Ball that goes back in. It's actually it's the Sycamore.
Right,
so
that's
look
actually
at
the
that.
card. Yeah.
That actually reset exactly what happened. I know a lot of times, like, judges, they can't assume which card it was. I know that we can see it here on stream, but unfortunately, you can't go off of the information in the stream because not every other match has that same luxury. So thankfully, things did end up in that right way. We actually see Hawlucha maybe coming up here, just dealing some damage that way.
I don't like this play from Dustin. On paper, it seems fine. You get in there with Flying Press, you deal 80 damage, that's fine. The bad part about this, there's already 40 damage on the Hawlucha from those earlier Gnaws, so Ross can actually just Sky Return. He can copy that with Versatile, get the knockout, put Mew EX back in his hand, and remove the damage that's just done. I would have liked it better if Dustin went for the Strong Energy on the other Hawlucha. Take away that Sky Return play.
Yeah, and I wonder, I think he still has an Ultra Ball in hand, has not opted to go for a Shaman. Either he's terrified of getting a 2-hit knockout, or getting a 2-prize knockout for a Shaman on his bench.
Looks like there's going to be a prize penalty on that extra card drawn off the end as well. So a bit of a mistake for Dustin, but happens to the best of us.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I think he's just going to end here with a Flying Press. I wonder if his Shaman are prized. I know I would probably be playing very risky, trying to dig for that Muscle Band, because I know it would change the matchup so dramatically.
Definitely, but I don't know. You never know. Shaman could be prized. Wouldn't be the first time it's happened.
Nope.
All right, so now on Ross's turn, yeah, I think this has been set up for him beautifully. Dustin doesn't have many things that can knock out Mega Manectric in one hit besides the Mew EX in one hit, besides the Muscle Band on Mega Manectric, so Ross could simply Sky Return and knock out Hawlucha. Although I wonder if he has a Lysander, does he just go after Mega Manectric? That might be the better play.
Yeah, it is rough. You don't often think about Mew EX doing a Sky Return and bouncing itself back up into your hand, but it does work that way.
It exists.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen that. I've seen Mew EX doing Quaking Punch out of nowhere,
Oh,
even decks that don't run Seismitoad, because you can use all the attacks that are around there.
Yeah,
yours or your opponent's.
I think Mew EX, I know it's played a lot, but I feel like it's probably one of the most underrated cards in the Pokemon TCG. That ability is absurd. You get to use any attack on the field. Do you know how good that is?
Yeah.
I mean, the drawback is 120 HP, but being able to use any attack is just absurd. It gives you so many options.
It is, I would say, versatile.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yes. You know, it's funny. I'm looking at Mew EX. Has anyone ever done a replace with Mew?
I've done it. I'm not happy about it, but I've done it.
Oh, well. I'm very sorry for your loss.
Yeah, so cool play here from Ross. Actually putting the second double colorless on the Mew EX. Certainly going for Sky Return. He's just going to put it down. Colress, shuffle his hand into his deck, draw 6. And then after he uses Sky Return, both those double colorless will go back to his hand.
Yeah, he could throw one of his doubles down and one of his bench Nightmarchers, but he's basically conserving it, making sure that if Dustin does knock something out on his following turn, it's going to have to be on a Pokemon that has no energy on it. So he won't be denying Ross in that way.
Right, and he's not attaching it to one of his bench Pokemon. Number 1 for Enhanced Hammer, and number 2 for a Lysander. Dustin could just target down the energy and get rid of it. This is the best way he can conserve his double colorless energy, which, as we've said before, that's the number 1 resource for a Nightmarch deck.
So late game town map, still 2 Nightmarchers in there. Tough luck for Ross. He's finding a lot of them in there. Thankfully, he's not in a situation where he needs to deal a one-hit knockout on an EX yet.
Yeah, but again, Dustin kind of walking into that Sky Return play. You know, I always like to say every little bit of damage counts in the Pokemon TCG. Those 2 Gnaws actually set up the Hawlucha to be knocked out by the Sky Return.
Yeah,
so
Joltik MVP. If he only does 1 Gnaw, it's not enough.
Yeah, that's right. So Ross just taking a look through his options at this point, trying to make sure there's not anything else he can do here. I think he has an Ultra Ball in his hand. He's in that awkward spot where you have an Ultra Ball and you have 1 card you want to discard, but you don't want to discard a second card, so you don't play the Ultra Ball.
Yeah, why not? Just wait it out, and he's allowed to bounce his Mew EX back into his hand by using that Sky Return attack, normally on Shaman.
Yeah. And Dustin's going to put down another Manectric EX. Feels like that's kind of his good attacker in this matchup. Landorus has been effectively nullified by the Pumpkaboo, the fighting resistance. Dustin going with an Ultra Ball here. Discarding the Karina first, and Professor Sycamore, he has Versus Seekers, so he can pick what supporter he wants to play next.
We'll see what he ends up grabbing out of here. It almost looks like he had Terrakion at the top. It is.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about, Josh.
Trying to set up. I mean, yeah, if he can get energy in the discard pile, Turbo Bolting to Terrakion might not be bad. Unfortunately, with that prize penalty, Ross is now 2 EX knockouts away from winning the game.
Yeah, Dustin very intelligently going for the N off that Versus Seeker. You know Ross used Sky Return. You know he has 2 double colorless energy in his hand, and you know you don't want him to have those. So you play an N, make him shuffle him back into his deck.
Right, so both players shuffling up. Dustin's going to get 5 cards off of this end. Ross is going to get 4. If I were each of these players, I would draw my cards very slowly.
Yes. 1, 2,
2, 3, 4, 5.
Beautiful.
There we go. Yeah,
You
and you
can
can
see
see. Nope, I'm good now. Yeah, learn the error of his ways.
Yeah, and he does find the strong energy. He can drop that on Terrakion. Terrakion is one of the Pokemon that got a big boost from strong energy. 90 damage isn't a ton, but you know, if you get 1-2 strong energy on it, you can actually start to threaten some knockouts on EXs like a Shaman EX or even a Mew EX.
Do you know it's even more disappointing than a Turbo Bolt that puts 1 fighting energy on Shaman EX?
Turbo Bolt for 0 energy?
For 0 energy. Why, yes, Kyle. Now,
Yeah.
it's getting him a knockout, but it would actually put you in a really nice situation if you could get an additional energy on Terrakion. Just getting it ready for that second attack if you ever need to do it.
Yeah, now here, Dustin will be put in an interesting spot. Joltik certainly will be... Oh, Ross throwing out his own enhanced hammer.
Now that Turbo Bolt is hurting even more.
Yeah, that's a big momentum swing. That might be too much for Dustin to recover from at this point. Not having that retaliate option is such a big deal. But yeah, Dustin's going to be in a strange spot. It was going to be weird anyway. So Joltik's going to take this knockout, especially with that teammates. Double Colorless Energy will be found. Nightmarch will take down the Mega Manectric. What does Dustin attack with next?
Yeah, I mean, he can knock out Joltik with Landorus EX, but then Ross is just 1 EX knockout away from winning the game.
Right.
Yeah, Landorus with a Focus Sash, I guess, but I just don't know if Dustin can power through for 4 additional prize cards.
Yeah, and it was going to be an awkward situation regardless. Even if he had the option to retaliate, are you going to burn a retaliate knockout on a Joltik? You're going to like blow it up for 200 damage when it's got 30 HP? Then, if that gets knocked up by the next Nightmarch Pokemon, you don't have anything to respond to like a Pumpkaboo or a Mew EX. So it just seems like Ross has sequenced this perfectly to just have the advantage at every single little battle that goes on. You know, he just has the right attackers for the right situations. He's using Mew when he needs to, he's using Joltik when he needs to, using Pumpkaboo when he needs to. Nightmarch is seen as a relatively simple deck by a lot of people, but there are a lot of little decisions you can make that separate you from other players.
Oh yeah, we've seen this back to back. Ross, I think it was Dylan Bryan, he described it as micro decisions.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of micro in this deck. What you want to discard with the Battle Compressor. For Ross, it's what you want to grab with the teammates. I really love his inclusion of teammates in this deck. Because you're playing a deck like Nightmarch, you're often losing prizes 1 at a time. And with 4 versus Seeker, which are in almost every deck now, it gives you a lot of opportunities to grab any 2 cards that you want at will out of your deck.
Yep, and I'm sure he grabbed one of those double colorless energy with that teammates, allowing him to attack. Teammates just super good in decks that are over-reliant on double colorless energy, since, you know, you need them every turn, so why not just play teammates, especially when Nightmarch Pokemon are going to get knocked out pretty much every time you attack.
Very few decks, have ways to search for double colorless energies. You can often hope to draw into them with cards like Shaman and Sycamore, but why not run one card like Teammates that says, hey, this can actually find you your doubles?
Yeah, I'm worked out for him there.
I see strong energy on Landorus. We do see the muscle band here now.
Yeah.
And
a little too late.
Yes. It would have been amazing, though, if it knocked out the Mew EX. I think it would have changed the game completely.
Yeah, Dustin definitely missed that opportunity. Just wasn't able to draw it at the right time. Now puts down a Shaman EX to set up at this point in the game. Seems like a little too late. You know, he had opportunities earlier where that could have been good to dig for some cards. Maybe has to do it this turn to find a Focus Sash, I guess. But now there's just Lysander targets on his bench for Ross.
Yeah, and has he played his supporter yet on the turn?
No, he can still find an N and try to disrupt Ross's hand if possible. But
yeah, that's about what you've got left. Ross's deck is not nearly as thinned out as it was last game, so an N to 2 might prevent Ross from seeing an energy.
Right.
I think that's exactly what you want to see. Focus Sash Landorus to just maybe start a little something. I don't even know if he has an N, though. He might be forced to play this Lysander.
Ew, that's not very good.
No. I mean, maybe you can Lysander something
he can
like...
knock out Joltik, force Ross to have double colorless, and either Zero Sick or a Lysander to win. I'm not sure what you're even going to try to Lysander out. Mr. Mime blocks the bench damage, so you wouldn't be able to knock out Joltik on the bench.
Yeah,
you may as well just go after Joltik.
Yeah, I think that's about as good as you've got. You could Lysander up Mr. Mime and hope the Ross doesn't have a replacement energy. Man, the lack of an N in Dustin's hand, though, just makes it so much weaker.
He could go like the super gamble route where you Lysander up the Pumpkaboo and hit it, and then next turn try to grab the Hex Maniac, get the double Hammerhead knockout.
Yeah, I guess if you're gonna hope that your opponent doesn't have an energy, I would just go all in with that strategy. It's not pretty, but what else are you going to do?
Right. And looks like Dustin's just going to go for the Hammerhead, take the knockout on Joltik. Again, kind of the safe play here. But Ross has been able to get the big turns when he's needed them in both games so far. Can he close this out with a Lysander or maybe a 0-6 to discard the Focus Sash? Even if he doesn't this turn, it seems like he's got a decent amount of time.
Yeah,
Dustin still has to take 3 prizes.
Right, and I know both these players, they are pressing pretty close to time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
With Ross still up a game, I find it most likely that he's going to leave with a win here, and I think that's going to secure a top 8 position for him as well, adding another long-historied, star-studded player to be up at the top tables in the future.
Yeah, Ross is a multiple-time regional champion. Was won at least 2 that I can think of, if not maybe 3. Just a great track record in the game. Always a threat to win these big tournaments. He's qualified for every single world championship in the history of the Pokemon TCG.
Is he now the only remaining player to have that
He
stat?
might be, yeah.
There's, if not, there's within like 1 to 3 people tops. That's just such an accomplishment.
Yeah.
A lot of these players, they're fantastic, but they haven't been playing since the start of the World Championships. Those have been around for a very long time.
I believe Sammy Sakum did qualify for last year's World Championships. He just didn't show up.
He was not able to
qualified
travel in and play.
Yeah.
Yes, Sammy would be that other big name. That made me sad. I really want to see him play, even if it is just day 1 when they have the day 1-2 qualifiers. But Ross carrying that legacy of the every year player, always a threat.
That's right. And Ross just analyzing the field, seeing if there's any way he can close this game out right now. You might think, well, he can Nightmarch, he can knock out Landorus DX, but that Focus Sash is blocking the one-hit knockout. It's a Pokemon tool that if it's on a fighting Pokemon and it's at full HP and it gets knocked out, it'll actually survive with 10 HP instead. If you're familiar with the video game, it's very similar to how that activates the Pokemon video games.
Yeah, it is. And Ross, he's playing a Battle Compressor. I think he's going to try and thin his deck out and increase his chances of playing a Lysander. Has maybe decided, well, there are several Versus Seeker left in my deck. All I need is a energy to attack and a Lysander to pull up one of these Shaman EX, and I can win the game right now.
Sure looks like it. So, Battle Compressor, getting rid of Lysander, getting rid of Dimension Valley, and a second Dimension Valley, just cards he doesn't want to draw anymore. I wonder if he has like a Shaman EX to try to set up for more cards, or what he's going to go for here.
I think he just grabbed one. I know I saw it in his hand at some point.
Okay, so yeah, double colorless and a Lysander, that's game over.
Yep, so let's see. Lysander's hitting the discard pile. I don't know if he has Versus Seeker for it, or if he's just thinking, well, I've got plenty of Versus Seeker left. Here we go, Shaman for 5.
Does he find the cards he needs?
4, 5. Versus Seeker and a double would do it. And let's see, more thinking from Ross. I don't know if it has shown itself to him already.
Well, let's see what his options are.
Another Battle Compressor.
Got another Battle Compressor, so he can thin his deck out a little bit more. Ross only playing 2 Shaman EX, it looks like. So
that's probably the lowest count I've seen on a Nightmarch. I know certainly no one's going to run 1. Too good of a card not to run at least 2 of, but many have opted for 3, maybe even 4 sometimes.
Yeah, so I mean, the point there is he is out of Shaman EX to use, so he can't draw any additional cards. If he doesn't have double colorless in his hand, there's no way for him to grab another one.
Oh, it doesn't. It looks like just a bunch of supporters in his hand.
So he might have to settle for the Professor Sycamore or something like that. Professor Juniper, draw some cards and just try to draw into the energy. Doesn't look like he can go for the win this turn.
No, but it definitely does look like he has this game overall. I can't remember if we got a signal on if time was called or not. I know I heard something, I just can't remember what. Whether it's time or not, though, I just don't know if Dustin's going to have enough time to find 3 prizes.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So I don't even know how he deals with a Pumpkaboo again.
Yeah,
I guess he could get his Scramble Switch. Yeah, that could work. Oh, there's a 0-6.
Oh man, that's going to be brutal.
Goodbye, Focus Sash.
Yeah, get rid of Focus Sash. That way the one hit. Wait a second. Did Ross just have the game? It's been all that time?
Yep.
That's a slow roll, ladies and gentlemen. He had it the whole time.
Well, he trainer's mail and he got the 0-6.
Okay,
And
so
then computer searches for the double close.
he had to think about the options. What was more optimal? What do I grab this first, the computer search, or do I activate the trainer's mail first?
And there we go.
It.
Ross Cawthon takes a 2-0 victory in this late Swiss round. Second to last round we have